Greg, 80 years of living and 45 years of hard wanching. So we're going to have a conversation here of the journey, and this conversation is going to be a tough one, but the whole goal of this conversation is going to be of passing the baton and how and you and I stories that how we got here today, of going into celebrating your 80th birthday. And so the kind of theme of the birthday is 80 years of great living and 45 years of hard wanching. And when we say wanching, it's kind of the difference between ranching and wanching, and we just have as much fun as possible, and we're going to talk through that today. So I want to start off by, every time people come down here, the first thing they always say is, how did this whole thing come to be? And then they look up and see these beautiful mountains that we're looking out the window here as we're having this conversation. So can you go back, as you've done a great job archiving, kind of give us the bullet points? Because I wish everyone would go back and read all the great stuff we put out there, but sometimes they just don't do that. So we're going to do a video and get this documented. So starting off by, it's a sense of place that we're going to talk them through here. It's bigger than Greg and Devon of the history of Turkey Toe. So we're honored to have you share this story and give us your version of the history of how we got here at Turkey Toe.
Okay. Well, 1974, my wife went to Texas. We didn't have kids at that point. I came down here by myself and went backpacking. I happened to go down Horn Road and up to Dry Lakes, and I spent about 5 days up there and just fell in love. It was the first time I'd been to the valley. And when I was driving out, on the way out on Highway 96, where you first see the peaks when you're driving west, I stopped the car, got out a piece of paper, and I wrote down, "I will own something in this valley." And that's where it started. And in 1979, a friend of mine told me he had bought a place down here on Horn Road. Again, I was back up in Macy Lake with a couple of friends backpacking. I got out of the car. On the way out, we stopped. I walked around the house. I walked around the bunkhouse, walked around the outbuilding, the old cattle barn out there, and I got back in the car. A while later, he said, "I've got to do something. I can't make a payment on this place." So I purchased 1/2 of the property. I'd never even been inside the house. And Judy went along with it, and I became half owner.
And this was 1980, right?
This was 1980. Dick had bought it in 79 from George Vickerman. Now, the Vickermans owned the rancher that kind of surrounds the place at the time. And the way the house actually got here was Chuck Kidder lived across the road, and his daughter Jean was playing with matches. She burned the house down. It's right across the road. He came over and built this log cabin in 1936, and that's about all he did. And I don't know what kind of ranching they were doing or whatnot.
Yeah, and those moments of time, that's like why, if you look at all of the original branding, it says 1936, because this place in the history of creating these traditions of starting from, that's when the old.
So that was the establishment of the, whatever they called it at the time. And we take our founding date as 1936. And he sold out to Chuck, or Glenn Coffey. And Glenn Coffey came and he built this dairy barn here, and he built the outbuildings, and he had a dairy farm on 80 acres here, plus land across the road that he had bought from Kidder. And he ran it for a while, and then he kind of sold it to the Vickermans, and it stood empty for 8 years. And the south side of the house started leaking, and the plaster started coming down. And the reason I own half is Dick Holliday brought his wife down here for the first time. She stood in the kitchen, and you could look out and see the sky, and she started crying. And she very seldom came back. So that kind of opened the door for Greg. So I've always been thankful of that. Anyway, they used it as a dumping ground for the ranch, and every rancher's got a dump or a boneyard, and this was it. It took years to clean it up, and it was covered with sagebrush, and we just pecked away at it a little bit at a time. Eventually we got it cleaned out, and it was looking pretty good. We remodeled the house, and slowly made improvements.
So speaking of Dick Holiday, why is it named Turkey Toe?
Well, he was on his honeymoon with Marilyn, and he was from West Virginia, and they were driving down a holler, and they got to a sign that said East Turkey Toe, West Turkey Toe. And he said, if I ever get a ranch, I'm going to call it the Turkey Toe Ranch. And that's where the name came from. Kind of lift off, where were we at?
Yeah, so following up on the kind of, the history of Dick Holiday, and then you purchased the whole thing from Dick
Right.
Holiday.
He had two daughters going to college, so he wanted to sell. His wife wanted to really sell. So I purchased the other half in '84. And that's when we had a lot of rain down here. And the basement flooded, the north side of the house caved in. And you could stand in the basement, you could look out and see the North Star. And I called the insurance company. This was about 2 days after I had signed it, got the deed for the second half of the property. Called the insurance company, and I figured no problem. And they said, well, we can't insure this. This is outside rainwater, and we're condemning the house. And I just got done buying half, so I didn't have a lot of money to do anything. So we ordered a load of railroad ties, and we went downstairs, we took the old foundation, we dug it out, and we took the pieces of the old foundation and made a footer. We built up a railroad tie foundation, and then we jacked the logs up the best we could. The reason the house didn't collapse is every log acted like a header, and it held it up, but it left a big crack in the living room. Well, we finally got it up as far as we could get it when we stabilized it, and it's pretty much stayed there. But during the winter, the crack gets big, and the summer, the crack gets small. So it's kind of going along. But you have to remember, this is a farmer-built house. No professionals. I think Devon found the original axe somewhere around here that they used to build the thing.
Yeah, it's super cool that, it's, as we say, that it's a fragile, and it's just a labor of love of all these old buildings. So one of the main questions that, you've really helped a lot of people, like how do you create an honored tradition? And a key thing of looking out the window where Sarah and I got married 16 years ago, the night before, you've created a lot of things like the family prayer. So can you talk about, from your point of view, how do you create an honored tradition?
Well, it starts with a vision. And I had a vision for this place, but prior to that, I had a vision when I had kids of how to raise kids and how to reinforce key values. I was raised as a Catholic. We said the same prayer over and over. And I thought, well, I'm going to write my own prayer. So I stole parts from the Boy Scout Code. And Theodore Roosevelt, he used to order his kids to have as much fun as possible. And I came up with this family prayer that just reinforces the values. And the father of all education is spaced repetition. And if you hammer those values home, they get down in your bones. And it was very effective. When I had a vision for Turkey Toe, that was based on being around my wife's family, which are ranchers and dryland cotton farmers in Snyder, Texas, southeast of Lubbock, about 80 miles. They homesteaded in 1889, and all their relatives homesteaded about the same time in Scurry County. And when I first met my wife, I went down there. I had met her in Amsterdam, and I chased her back home to Dallas and then down to Snyder and met her family and all her relatives. And I just fell in, fell in love with Texas. And the sense of place, and that's a strong word, but their family was grounded and centered in place on their land. And I really wanted to recreate that feeling up here at Turkey Toe. And this was known as the old coffee place. Well, now it's our family place, our place. It's a permanent place. It's not going anywhere. And I think it helps people center and it grounds them knowing that they're always going to have Turkey Toe. And people sense it now. They're bringing their ashes of their loved ones. They're burying their pets here. And they know it's always going to be here. So that was the vision, to create a sense of place where you're centered and grounded and you know it's not going anywhere. And that really was the main mission. I expanded that out to a place to strengthen families and friendships. And that's the number one goal. And Dad's Day has been an effective vehicle for doing that. And it's on the second go around with Devon and Bob Bicker had a Dad's Day. And I hope that tradition just keeps going. Now, the second one was to maintain the spirit of the Old West. Now, the Old West was about from the Civil War up until about 1909, when all the free land was gone and the homesteading was over. And the Old West is best represented by the Code of the West, which is kind of a moral code of how you're supposed to behave yourself. And I wanted to reinforce that code and maintain it. I've always been a historian, and my major focus has been on the Old West. And I wanted to protect those values. Kids are getting into Star Wars and all kinds of different things. The West is gradually fading away, but not very rapidly. So to maintain the spirit of the Old West, and I relate that to the difference between the Old West and the New West or New Society. The Old West, people had a calling. They were ranchers, they were homesteaders, they were farmers. They were grounded in the land. With the development of the rural areas in the United States, that's changed. People are mobile, they're moving around, they've lost a sense of, quote, place. And the moral values have shifted, and we see that in our country is it became, what's good for me, and the laws don't apply to me, and if I've got power, I can do whatever I want. And the best reflection in that is the movie HUD, which came out in '63, Paul Newman, and it deeply influenced me at the time. His father was a person grounded in the Old West. The HUD was grounded in the New West. And he was the kind of the role model for J.R. Ewing that came along with the show Dallas. The only difference, he drove a Cadillac and J.R. drove a Mercedes. But he was about himself, and everything centered around himself, and people really didn't matter. His goal was to achieve what he wanted. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people that are operating on the same basis right now. So I think we need to get back and reinforce that code of the West and a way of acting and a way of living that's kind of drifting away.
Awesome. Well, big shoes to fill, but we're honored to fill them. And we're going to be celebrating with 3 generations of Dad's Day now. It's got to be crazy in 1984 with when we talking about the original Ranch Princess, which is my beautiful wife and your daughter Sarah, of 1984. We just celebrated 40 years last year of that Dad's Day. What is Dad's Day, and how did it start?
Well, it started in '84. I invited two friends to come down. Bill Arkin brought his kids, and Phil Wood. And I had a lead on a place where I thought you could find some arrowheads. And it was kind of a sleety, rainy day, early spring. We went down to Gardner, which is about 30 miles south of here. And we went to the general store down there that was called the Alice. And kids came in. We said, you can buy anything you want. And so they loaded their pockets with candy. We went about 15 miles up the road. We wandered around looking for arrowheads, and I think we found some chips. And then we went back to the Agnes, and everybody loaded up again, and we came home, back to the ranch. And that was the first Dad's Day weekend. The next weekend, I added two other couples, their kids and fathers. And we did kind of the same routine. We went on an arrowhead hunt, went to the Agnes, and kids could do whatever they want, eat as much as they wanted, and there were no rules but one rule, and we've maintained that rule over the years. If you are on fire or think you might be on fire, stop, drop, and roll. Other than that, you're on your own. And we've never had any accidents. Kids have done whatever they wanted on the ranch. The only accidents we've had here are two adults falling out of the upper bunk in the bunk beds. So we took the bunk beds down.
Well, everybody's done a pretty good job. As the motto we say, this ranch has no brain of its own, so use yours, right? And
Yeah.
Give people the freedom to be able to do that. And now I'm the son-in-law that came in here and fell in love with this place and got married here. And I think you have to have a mindset, of this creaky old chair of really the passion of the place to take it on. And that's where Dad's Day, it's a mixture of the core, the same guys that really have this sense of place because they grew up with their dads. And now we have all these pictures and all these legacies that I just don't think there's a lot of things like that around. And I think we should all be proud, not just Devon and Greg, but like all the tentacles of Turkey Town.
That goes back to that vision of family. I came from a large extended family in Detroit. Judy has a large extended family in Texas. We got out of the Army in '69. We came to Detroit for 1 year. After 6 months, Judy said, I can't take it. There's no sunshine here in the winter. And I said, well, where do you want to go? She said, we used to vacation with my Uncle Fred in this town called Colorado Springs. So I came to Colorado Springs.
And you came out here with just everything you had in a VW?
We loaded everything we had in the back of a pickup and a Volkswagen and drove out. And I had lined up a house through a very dear Army friend who came out shortly thereafter. He stood up at my wedding in Germany. We met the first day in the Army, John Leach. And when John Leach came, then Peter Sutherland came, and Phil Wood came. And these are people I went to grade school with. And we built our own family. Those people became uncles, and the kids became cousins.
Yeah.
So that was our family. And it was built around Dad's Day, and it was built around the tow, and it was built around Breckenridge and skiing. But we bonded in grade school, and
now the place is wove of, Matt and Ben, their sons,
right.
Become great friends of mine, and we do yearly raft trips, and the old homestead campground is going to be dedicated to them because they know how to make do with what you got.
Matt and Ben Leach, Ben Wood, Sarah and Jeremy.
All were the kids of the first Dad's Day. Now they're the dads of this one. So with all that, now I want to get it on video for everyone. What is your wish for the future of Turkey Town?
Well, you know, when Julie and I, leave the scene, I never want to hold anybody to a commitment they have to do this or make anybody feel guilty. So I'm leaving it wide open. I guess I would like to continue the Old West and the moral values and way of living that goes with it. This place is all about friends and family. And I'd like to see Dad's Day just go on forever and add more groups if we can. And I've got a couple of mine. But the other thing, I've collected about 900 books on Western history, and I'd like to see that library maintained and grow. I'd like to be able to a place where maybe writers could come and have a retreat, use the resources down the road. And I'm not worried a bit about it. I got Devon and Sarah and Eva, and they're centered. They got roots here, and whatever happens, I know it's going to be good.
Love it. What's a couple of your favorite memories?
Friends and family, just getting together, and this is a place where I try to develop it through the eyes of kids. I always hated the expression, "Don't touch that." So I bought not perfect antiques, not great antiques, just antique Western stuffs that are iconic, and kids can touch anything they want here, and they can do pretty much anything they want. And they can climb the window, jump on the roof. They can do whatever they want. And that brought me a lot of joy.
Love it. You have a lot of Gregisms or one-liners. What's a couple of your favorite ones?
Well, we developed after the incident in the basement, Never Give an Inch was based on the Stamper's book, Sometimes a Great Notion, which is a phenomenal book. That has always been my motto, and I've adapted it to dealing with anything. I've had a few serious health things, and you don't give an inch, you just move forward. So that's my favorite motto. Actually, my other favorite motto was my partner and I hitchhiked around Peter Sutherland. We hitchhiked around Europe. We had no idea where we were going, what we were doing. And our motto, he came up with it, says, "Wherever you go, there you are. Make the best of it." So we slept in the ditch a lot when we couldn't get rides, and we slept in lousy places, and we slept in good places. But we always had fun no matter where we were. And some of my greatest memories were camping in the ditch all over Europe. But my personal favorite motto is, and again, this was one Peter Sutherland and I developed, is moderation breeds indecency. If it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. And have as much fun as possible, push it to the limit, and enjoy life. And whether you're working, whether you're playing, to me, there's no real difference between the two. It's this focus on have fun. And this place is built around families and friends having fun. If you had to say, that's the foundation of the whole thing. I'm really surprised my voice keeps cracking on this. It's pretty emotional. It's unusual. Anyway.
Well, we're so proud on and I think the definition of having as much fun as possible is what we're doing, and also stepping up to share the stories, right? And so it's hard to do, but I challenge people to step up to the mic and share the stories and listen and learn. And what advice would you give the next generation of wanchers coming into the limelight?
Well, just have as much fun and realize at the end of the day, it's your family and your friends. You know, that's it.
Well,
And
I think that's we have a whole group of friends out there tonight that that are sponsoring tonight, and then Saturday night we get to have another band for your 80th birthday, and I say we go tip our hat and go out there to the Cadillac Wanch and have JJ and perform tonight and eat too much and drink too much and have as much fun as possible. What do you say?
let's do it.
All right, thanks, Greg.
I'd like to take one and thank Devon for what he's done. Not only has he been a remarkable husband for my daughter Sarah, which I'm forever grateful, tremendous father, tremendous son-in-law, but he's taken my dreams for this place and for Breckenridge and expanded it and taken it to the next level. And it's something I can't do at my age, but to have someone that can grab the reins, take over, and do such a fantastic job is just amazing. I'm truly blessed. And I can't thank you enough, Devon.
There we go.
Beautiful.